Well, welcome everyone. I want to welcome you to the Foundation for Conscious Living's Big Leap Home community. And it's so nice to see friendly faces out there and some new names. I don't know if I see your faces yet. My name is Michelle Yasuda, and I'm the program director for the Big Leap Home online programs. And these programs support individuals, organizations, and communities in generating agency, connection, and creativity on our shared planet. And I just love that vision and mission. And this class that you're on is part of how we carry that out, how we do that in the world. So what I'd like to do now is invite you into a commitment. And when you listen to these words, I would love to invite you to notice how they land in your body. So, and I'll actually invite you to take a nice deep belly breath right now. So, we find that learning works best when we choose to bring curiosity, openness to learning, and appreciation of ourself and others into the space. So, with that, I would like to say an appreciation for our facilitator, Jody. This is our tradition in the Big Leap Bridge community. We love appreciations, and we really savor the opportunity to be able to really see each other. And Jody, I just delight in your playful presence. I think that's what I have to call it, a playful presence. And I've really been fortunate to be able to be in the same space as you. And I just feel at the same time of this playful presence, there's I want to use the word stability, which feels really strange right now that I'm saying that, but there's this stable, like strong, like a spine, like Katie talks about love with a spine. I think that you exemplify that. And I really admire that and appreciate that about you. And I'm happy to turn the call over to you, and I'm excited to enjoy what you're presenting tonight.
Thanks, Michelle. And I'm always happy to be participating in this kind of thing with you because I feel like I have an ally and a friend and a playmate, and it's a safe space. So, and thank you all for being here. I will be asking of you periodic participation, maybe to put into the chat some of what your responses are or to call it out. We're a small group, so you might just want to unmute and when it comes time to toss out what we're talking about. And know that this is the land of Hendricks' work. And I don't know how many people are familiar with it and have taken classes, but it's really a whole person experience. And I never tire of reminding myself or others to get the whole being involved. It's not a head only space. So, but I encourage you to take notes if you'd like to, however you may do that. Maybe you want to capture some things from the chat and copy and paste and whatever you need for your ongoing explorations, because ultimately you're the expert of you. And we'll be looking at playful ways of getting aligned with what is, because things will continue to happen for the rest of your life. What was that? What happened for you when I did that? Did you hold your breath? Something happened. And so what do you notice? What happened for you? And I'll say that if somebody wants to say something great, and if you noticed something that happened in your body, and maybe you didn't yet, maybe you haven't gotten to that point yet. But if I hadn't created that, I would have frozen probably. What was that? Held my breath and looked around for, where'd that come from? Subconsciously, I might have looked for something familiar. Oh, that happens all the time. Or is there danger when something happens? So we can search our minds while we're in that response. We might be going out for safety signals and danger for anything that's not familiar. So first we're getting located in the body because you see it's happens in the body. And we're looking at breath, movement, feeling, and focus. And when you have registered what happened, whatever that may be, with a practice of tools we'll be playing with, you're likely to be better equipped to get with what is and to come back into ease and flow. Ease and flow this is my 25th year in land of Hendricks tools and learning, and ease and flow is one of our staples of where we want to be. Ease and flow. And I'd like to give you a quote, and we'll be working with a few quotes today. This first one is by Viktor Frankl, and it says, between stimulus and response, so stimulus is the thing that happened, and between that and the response, there is a space, and in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. So I'd like to bring out the Hoberman sphere today as a visual aid. And so to recap, you're flowing, you're breathing, ease and flow, and then wham, there's a loud noise. Do you clamp down? Do you breathe in and freeze? So this is to represent the body and to assist you in thinking about what happens for me when something happens. You might pull in and freeze, or breathe out. And then what if it's something that's so joyously unthinkable that happens? Like, I just won an Academy Award. Oh my God. You might lose your space in a kind of a faint. That's a fear signature move, is the faint. And I think of maybe 3 Americans in the last year and a half or so have won $1 billion in the lottery each. And can you imagine? Oh my God, $1 billion. I mean, they may not get that whole amount, but still, I can imagine just going, whoa. And that's the fear faint response. But so it's kind of a visual that, when you lose your space or when you clamp down in fear. So what are some of the things for you that either have happened or might happen to people? If you want to toss some out. I realize I don't have the chat open. Okay. So does somebody want to name the kinds of things we're talking about that happen? That either have happened or that might happen? Do you want to toss some of those out?
Do you want that verbally or in the chat?
Either way, it's you can unmute and say it or chat.
Yeah, you got to see one that happened for me live just a few minutes ago, right? Because Dean came walking in, my husband came walking in, and he touched this side of my arm, but somehow was like over there. There was something that happened, and the way it all happened, and I went, which is a very common experience for me. So exaggerating it's definitely like an in-breath uppy kind of a thing that happens for me.
Yeah, that was fun. I said, boy, have I got a class for you, because I was here when that happened. So as I mentioned in the course description, milk could spill, you could break a leg or win the lottery or an Academy Award. And I think something that most people have experienced probably is getting cut off in traffic. That's a thing that can happen. Or what about you come across an adorable puppy? You could either go, oh, so cute, look at the puppy. I mean, there's so many possibilities. Yes, I see we have a question, Rhonda.
So Jody, I've got like Michelle, but probably more so. I've got a lot of just startles, and I need I keep that in my body. It happens so quickly. I don't get that space that Viktor Frankl's talking about. Like, I don't know. Like, I can choose like I just did, I noticed just the fact of doing it, I was holding. So it's like, okay, I get up and I can move, I can do fear melters, but that's almost always after I've already gone into fear. How do you deal with when it seems like there isn't a space? It's just stimulus response, like the physiology happens so fast. I don't know how to create space other than to create it afterwards and be kind to myself afterwards and try to pick up where I am afterwards because I'm already, dysregulated.
Yes, thank you. That is such a great question because it gives me the opportunity to say, I think of as a reaction,
Right.
not the response to the thing
Oh,
that happened.
oh,
And
I
so,
was seeing them as the same. One was conscious and one was
yeah,
unconscious.
I'm so
Like,
glad you said that. I might not have made that distinction if you hadn't. So there may be the thing happens and there's a reaction, or maybe was that a gunshot?
right.
That sounded like a gunshot, and that's my reaction. And
Okay.
then I might notice how I feel about that and use some tools. And then what do I do? What's my response? Do I want to get up and look out the window? Get online? Did anybody hear the gunshot?
Right. Right.
Maybe that would be a response.
Okay. So I had that in the gym and it just went gun, I heard the sound and my head went gun. And I'm looking around, where is he? It was a he, first of all. And then it was like, where is he? And I'm, near the ellipticals. And I'll just duck and I'm like looking around. I don't see it. There's no more shots. Nobody's yelling.
And it was a gunshot?
It was a balloon.
Mm.
If somebody, where they had these specials, buy 2 for 1 membership in the gym. Somebody just popped the balloon and I'm already in fight or flight, freeze. What do I do? All of that. So then I went, okay, take a breath, ooze, you're okay. It took me a while because it was such an intense moment. And I just went right into, where's the exit? What do I do? How do I, I was just 1, 2, 3, let's go, let's get out of here, all of that. So, I mean, and I've had a lot of trauma. So it's, it's like, okay, that's the past. Here's it now. So you're saying the reaction is gun, the word gun in my head. And then the response and looking around and seeing where it is and where's the exit and all that. And then it's like, the response would be, is it still dangerous, I guess? And then, ooze. So is it still dangerous and ooze be the response? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think it so much depends on the thing and how serious and dire it is. If it's spilled milk and you're holding a baby and you might like, okay, I've got to clean up the milk, but first I'm going to take care of the baby and change the diaper and put the baby down nap, and I'll come down and come back and clean up the milk. And so it depends on the nature of the thing that happened and the what kind of response is required. If you just get a diagnosis, but you'll have time to think about your options. You don't need to say, okay, give me the shot right now, because it's not called for. Yeah.
Okay, so response is conscious choice afterwards. Reaction is the physiological reaction or demonstration, pretty much almost in the moment of the stimulus being activated.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Linda. Hello, my dear.
Hello. First of all, I really appreciate that distinction. I never really thought of that before. When you toss the ball or the little thing of yarn, when we first start. Oh, okay, the ball. When you toss that, I gasped a little bit. So that was that. That was a reaction. And when somebody cuts us off in the car. That's a reaction, another gasp, you know, a startle, kind of a startle response. But something happened right before I came on the call. I got notice that a really good friend of mine was taken to the hospital.
Mm.
And so she's got to have, it sounds pretty serious, and I'm very upset. And so my stomach is, and I'm, you know, got a lot of sadness going on. So as we're talking, I'm being with that. Yeah. So just
Sorry to
giving
hear that.
myself some loving pats, and definitely looping with her and her family. But that's one of the things that happen. You know, we get bad news
Mhm.
or good news. It can go either way, you know. So breathing with this.
Yeah, thanks for letting us know. And
Yeah, but I'm liking the response and that difference. I never thought of that. I love these classes because I always learn something new every time. As long as I've been doing this stuff, I always learn something new, and it just fascinates me to no end.
and you've been around for many, many years as well.
I know.
So that's the thing. That's the thing. This is lifelong learning
Yeah,
if we want to thrive.
yeah. So learning to be with stuff that happens like that, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
As I said in the course description, that my mother was diagnosed with an illness that lasted 11 years until her death, and I'll be talking a bit about that later and how I got with that.
Yeah. Yeah. We both had that. Yeah. Hmm.
Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Were you complete, Linda?
Yes, I'm breathing.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Keep breathing. That's number one.
I'm breathing.
Jason, what's up?
Jody.
Hi.
Well, when you threw the ball of yarn, I had like a totally opposite than a fear response. I was like, "Oh yay, let's play."
Yeah.
So it was like for me it was kind of a so that was a good thing because it told me that like my nervous system is in a good place. But when you were sharing later with the Huberman sphere and you were talking about expanding, like winning an Oscar or winning the lottery, right? And then the collapse that comes. I had never thought about it that way before. And so I just felt into that. And I noticed that I do have that happen. Like when I'm in a really good space, like let's say, for example, when I'm in nature and I'm feeling like expanding into it, there's a little bit of collapse that can start to happen. And when that happens, it's like I grab for it. It's kind of like, no, I don't want this to, like, I'm afraid that I'm going to lose it.
Hmm.
And so it's almost kind of like a drowning feeling. Um, and so I'm not sure if that's fight or if that's maybe it's like fighty. It feels kind of like fighty and freezy, but I don't know. I can't identify it exactly yet. But I just wanted to say thank you for, I hadn't noticed that before as a part of my fear signature process, part of my upper limit. It's like when I expand, noticing that collapse is a part of that right before I start to try to grab for things. And I'm just like, oh no, I need to keep this. I need to hold on to this.
Wow.
And
That's that's a great noticing. And one thought about that is, have you seen the page that talks about the upper limit and the goal of if you're having an upper limit, and then before it goes back down to integrate and expand so that you can have more and more good feeling and love and that kind of thing on the chart of upper limit. Oh, hit the skids and have an upper limit. And when we can expand to integrate, we can even raise the upper limit over time. But it's good noticing.
Yeah, and that's really, I'm really curious about that point of integration. So would it be like when you're expanding and you notice the collapse about to happen, the integration would it just be welcoming the good experience? Like, no, I'm just going to stay open to this, or welcoming the collapse. So how would you suggest that moment of integration? What might that look like?
Well, to give the classic example of a couple that has had a great weekend of harmony and togetherness and love, and then come Sunday night, there's a fight because they've hit an upper limit. It's like, I can't sustain this. It's too good. I'm not used to feeling this good for this long. So let's create a fight and then we'll have some separation. Well, one way to, with awareness and understanding and learning, if you see yourself kind of going, whoa, this has been so good. I feel myself approaching my upper limit. I'm going to go take a walk. So take some time alone in this particular scenario. I'm going to go take a walk in nature and just be with myself and integrate this great feeling. Is one example, rather than, hey, I notice we're starting to get testy. I'm going to go read my book or take a bubble bath or something to not create the fight and the separation, to expand that upper limit is one example, even
Yeah,
though that's
I
not your
got it.
specific example.
No, that's really good. So it's like sort of you have your go-tos, that will help you to regulate. And so when you're feeling like you're the come down of that expanse, go get a massage or go for a walk or read a book. Do something nice for yourself. That helps you to integrate that nice feeling instead of getting into that sort of fear-based mode.
Yeah, and then there's
Wanting,
also, sorry,
no, go ahead.
there's also that chart with the two ends of the spectrum and balancing your dynamics or something like that, where if Katie has been giving a class for a solid weekend, so expressing on the balance of that spectrum of expressing an experience, and she's been expressing for a full weekend, she makes sure to have lined up after the weekend, the training, a massage and some gardening or things that are more experiences. So to balance the dynamics of something, if you get a lot of this, you might want to balance. And I don't know if you can easily access that particular page, Michelle, but if you can, we can put it up. And okay, is there more, Jason?
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Darlene.
I just wanted to share from Jason's um, asking his question. I'm not speaking very well today. I love, one time I remember I did a jigsaw puzzle, and for some reason that, not focusing on consciousness or self-awareness, whatever was happening for me, the jigsaw puzzle was like the perfect thing. It was to integrate. But the thing that I like to do now, I can feel in my body that it's like fireworks almost, or a bubbly feeling, where I experience it the way Jason, I'm imagining what he was saying, like, oh, I can feel so good, almost like my energy feels as big as a house, and I feel myself thinking, that what Jason was saying, like, I want this to last, but I'm afraid it's not going to. I started saying it's safe to feel this good.
Mm,
I feel a balance happen. I feel something. I feel like I'm telling because I realized, why do I feel afraid? Oh, something is making up in me. I'm making up that it's dangerous to feel this good. So I started saying it's safe to feel this good. And I also use Michelle and Dean's, I commit to friendly Alps, I commit to friendly expansion, which I know Katie also. Um, so anyway, I just wanted to, I appreciate now that I can feel in my body. I almost can taste it when I'm in that extra expanding mode. So it's kind of cool to me to, like Katie was talking about feeling the ceiling. Feeling, she can feel the ceiling. Remember Michelle what she was talking about of, today. Uh, so it's cool with all these practices to really get into the body sensations of uh, our quivery edge of these expansions. And I feel like I'm
mhm.
rambling. I'm afraid. I just had a, oh,
I was just going to say that.
Thank you, Darlene.
Mm.
Rhonda, you're muted.
Just real quickly, and thank you, Jason, for that. I love that question because, yeah, I think it's common to all of us, or certainly to me. But what I do is I start commitments right when things are, they're either, expanded to those like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid, and then I commit to receiving this goodness and more for longer and longer periods of time. I commit to receiving this goodness and more to safely receive this goodness and more for longer and longer periods of time. And that's my go-to when things are starting to get good and I'm going, uh-oh, things are getting good. Oh no, when's it going to happen, And so it's like, yeah, there's fear, fear of it not being safe to receive, but also fear that it won't last. And the safety issue is really important, but I also acknowledge that life is, it has waves. It won't last. That's part of the what is it's not going to last. It's not going to stay the same. It can even get better. It can even get more expanded, but it won't stay the same. And so it's like when I sit down to a nice meal, I go, you know what? This meal's going to end. And I accept that it will end. There will be an ending to it because I don't want to hold on and try to overeat just to keep the meal, So there's this interesting thing about being present and to the what is, and it will end, but also wanting to stay open to what's expanding as that ends, So anyway, I'm just wanting to say it's like, it's almost like we're playing with the continuum of accepting the fear of it ending and also committing to expanding more. And at the same time, acknowledging that there are endings, but there's also beginnings in the endings kind of thing. Thank you, Jody.
Yeah, thank you. It's like the create, sustain, destroy cycle, which is never ending. All right. So I just put in the chat, Michelle. It was about, yeah, you got that. So let's begin to talk about some of the things, to continue talking about some of the things we can do. And I'm looking at this rubber bracelet that the Hendricks Institute was putting out there for a while. And it's a great reminder. It says, breathe, move, love. And really, if you want to boil it all down, breathe. What happens, when something happens, or just all the time, because we want, as I showed with the Hoberman, we want to be breathing and moving and alive and not clamping down on our life force. So breathe right now. Where is the breath not going in your body, and take it there. I like to drop my belly out and just take a long, slow, deep belly breath. And I'm thinking breath isn't really quite going to the center of my back, and I'm going to bring it there. So that's breathe. And move kind of comes with the breathing, but where is there no movement? Where are you stagnant in your body? I'm thinking, I'm moving my ankles right now, and I just wanted to move my fingers a little bit, and yeah, shoulders. And so this is kind of that's the beauty of having it on a bracelet all the time. Breathe, move, and then love yourself wherever you are as much as you can. And I know a lot of people struggle with loving themselves, and so it can just be thinking of somebody else you know you love, bringing that to yourself. It can just be I am love, and it could be a love scoops, which is something some of you have heard about as an antidote to some of the fears. And if you imagine yourself standing in a pool of love and you scoop it up and you land it on your body, love, just wherever you want to, especially if you're judging a part of your body, scoop some love onto that part of the body. So that's one way. And if you want, for anybody who doesn't know about fear melters, Michelle, would you add that link? So the 4 types of fear: fight, flight, faint, and freeze, have antidotes like wiggle and ooze and love scoops. And so those are there for anybody who wants to know more about them if you aren't that familiar. So here's another emergency first aid tool, the Audible. It's one of my favorite tools. I talk about it all the time. I even remind my fellow Hendrix people, and it's the beauty of it, the hidden secret of it is it physiologically changes the brain from the reactive to the creative. So a long, strong, if you saw me from the side, I think of it as a cane, going circling up and around, up and then down through my head and then down to my toes. Big breath in, and let's try it on. So I use that a lot. It's a great game changer, brain changer. It's a great if you are working at the computer and you want a little shift moment. That one, I think, is one of the big heroes of this work. And of course, as Linda shared, feelings arise all the time when something happens. And one important thing is to cycle the feeling through as best we can. So if you know that you've gotten news a friend is in the hospital, you might say, oh my gosh. And if you notice, you might touch your chest when you hear that, because that is the center of loss and sadness. And you might, if that's where you're feeling the sensations, breathe into that there. If you get some news and you're like, you notice you're angry, your fists get balled up, you might tense your jaw and have some tension here. That's the anger zone. And so it can give you a clue as to what's happening. So for example, if you might say, oh my gosh, and not register sadness, but you can ask yourself, oh, I touched my chest. Am I feeling sad? Let me check. Let me breathe and feel and wonder about that. And it can be really subtle. For example, somebody says something and you find yourself sort of scratching your neck and you think, well, it's just my neck was itching. But maybe you're angry and you're not wanting to notice that. So touching the anger zone can help you with the curiosity, the self-awareness, and dig a little deeper if that's warranted. So we talk about 5 core feelings: fear, anger, or sadness, joy, and sexual feelings, and then sometimes they're combined. And the fear zone is the belly. So you might register butterflies or, I guess, punch to the gut. Again, breathe in, breathe with the feelings, and they can cycle through oftentimes in less than a minute. And that doesn't mean they won't come back. When you lose a loved one, you can have waves of sadness for the rest of your life or for many years to come. And then it's time to feel the feeling and let it move through. But we're never we're never free from the stuff that happens or the feelings that come through. So I also, one other thing I like to think about with I love this as a visual aid, because it's like, oh yeah, when I freeze, you can think of this. You may not, and then you want to thaw and sort of melt. It's kind of like going ice cube. Ideally, I'm ease and flow and clear water, and then sometimes I go into ice cube, and I love all these things that are can be a hook to remind you, oh yeah, I've got an ice cube, I want to be a clear river. So I also want to mention Bruce Lipton. He's a cell biologist who has brought us many wonderful things, like we have 50 trillion cells. Linda knows where I'm going. And they can only do two things. They can protect or grow, and they can't do both at once. And to me, that's a great reminder. Am I in protection mode? And if so, I want to be in growing mode. I want my cells that are so busy doing so many wonderful things for me to be growing and thriving and flowing. So we're not yet at the point of strategizing, looking for solutions. We're still in the, I've reacted and I need fast first aid, breathe, move, love, and that kind of thing. So now, granted, once again, if you spill the milk, you know what your solution is going to be, and you get to it when you get to it. And now, so a little bit more on the nonverbal tools that you can use when something happens. You can use sound and matching. We're going to put up a link on matching, because there's so many ways you can dance. You can do an anger dance if you're upset. So I really welcome all of you to stand up if you are willing, so that we can get physical and get the whole bodies in, and you can think of one of your issues and you can sound it like, that guy cut me off in traffic. Oh my gosh, my friend's in the hospital. You can do a joy, anger, sadness dance. You can match the energy. For example, if I said, I'm so furious right now, I could kick a door down. That's not matching. That's not energy that matches the fury that, I say I'm furious. So matching is a great opportunity to match sadness, match the anger, stomp your feet. And other things you can do while you're up is you can paint the issue in the air. You can paint it for real if you like, but you can imagine that you are painting your sadness, painting your anger, painting how you're going to spend your $1 billion lottery winnings. Another thing is sculpting. You can imagine you're working with clay. How would you sculpt the romantic relationship that you most desire to have? You can imagine sculpting with wire, whatever you are drawn to do. And that's the beauty here. I'm offering a buffet. Which things are attracting you? Which things sound like things you'd like to play with? Because we're talking, in theory, lifetime exploration. And one last thing here is senses before we get to the verbal stuff. And to bring yourself, you get into this, the faint. If I were an Academy Award winner, on my way up to the podium, I would say, okay, I'm noticing the sparkles on that dress. I'm noticing my feet going up the steps. I'm touching my velvet gown, and I'm here. I would bring my hands to my chest and say, I'm here. So that's just the non-verbal, but is there anything that wants to be said at this point before I move on to the thoughts and the importance of the thoughts and such? thank you for playing along with me, because the Hendricks work will always ask you to involve the whole person. All right, so thoughts, you might have thoughts about what happened, or we're having thoughts all the time anyway, even if something isn't happening. But are you using them to fuel the feeling? Because if you breathe with a feeling and you be with a feeling, it can cycle through rather quickly. But if you say, hey, that guy cut me off, so you're thinking something. I felt scared. He's a bad driver. I'm feeling really angry now. I think I'll chase after him and tailgate him. He shouldn't be driving. And then you get into this circular cognitive emotive loop where the thoughts can fuel the feeling and make it bigger instead of helping you to move it, to cycle it through. And it's almost like being on one of those roundabouts and not finding the exit. And so one way to do that is to choose to say, I choose to feel, and to stop adding the thoughts, and begin to at first thing, because part of the fuel is the reactive brain. So, yeah, I'm getting worked up. I'm going to get off this roundabout and breathe and do something else and be a safe driver. And I want to add another quote. And when I add, I'm going to give you several, I've given you some quotes. I'm going to add a couple of more. When you hear them, do you say, oh yeah, I like that, I'm going to put it on my mirror in the bathroom? Or do I not? Nah, that's not me. It's all a buffet. Take what you like. But Eckhart Tolle says, rather than being your thoughts and emotions, be the awareness behind them. And what just popped into my head was minestrone soup for some reason. Be the broth. Those cubed carrots don't take me anywhere good. I don't know why I thought of that, but I just did. So, and I mentioned Bruce Lipton. He's got this book, The Biology of Belief, and it's true. There's a big link between our beliefs and our thoughts and our biology. Another possible tool is the I want to and I don't want to. Because you might imagine, I want to leave this relationship and I don't want to leave this relationship. I want to leave this job and go out on my own and I don't. And you can imagine that there could be reasons on both sides. But as long as it's like a vanilla chocolate swirl inside of you, it's kind of hard to separate them out to the vanilla and the chocolate. And you can have a conversation with yourself, with those parts of you. And I did this one time, and like, there's this, and it began to be a conversation of phrases. Well, what if we did this? Well, yeah. And eventually they came together, and I brought my hands together. I said, yeah, we agree that we can take the first step and see what happens. And so that is another fun exercise. And here's another quote. This one by Viktor Frankl. Everything can be taken from a man. Remember, he was a Holocaust detainee. Everything, he wrote Man's Search for Meaning, maybe I mentioned that. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. That's where we have the sorting the two files. I can I can make my choices and choose what I do. And wasn't there something by Shakespeare, nothing is true, but thinking makes it so? And that's another reference to our thoughts and the biology of belief, and how we make choices about what we think. And it also brings me to Byron Katie. I don't know if you've heard of her. She does the work. She also lives here in Ojai. We talk about the two Katies here in town, and I'm sure there's more than one. One thing I like from her work is what happens when you believe that thought? Who do you become? If I thought no pain, no gain, what happens to me? To me, that's not one of mine. I say, yeah, I don't resonate with that, but somebody else might. And what happens if I take on a parent's thought and belief? Who do I become? And what happens to me? And who would I be without that thought? And I love that curiosity, self-awareness, exploration around our thoughts. So seeing something as a problem may be the problem. Sometimes. I love what Katie Hendricks says about this wisdom, which goes way back to the ancients. The fastest way to go crazy is to think you're having the wrong experience, because this comes back to arguing with reality, and to think you're having the wrong experience, and maybe to think that somebody else is having the wrong experience. But one thing Byron Katie says that I love, when you argue with reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. You can't win that because it's already so. So can you, at some point, maybe, can you argue for why this is welcome? And that you may not be able to for days, weeks, months, years, but it can be a worthwhile exploration. And okay, another quote. This one by Eckhart Tolle. Whatever the present moment contains, and notice what you think. And I'd love to hear after I say this. Does anybody reject it? Does anybody love it? What do you, because I'm not attached to how you accept it, but I'd love to hear what your reaction is. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. Does anybody have a yes, a no, or a meh?
I have a big yes.
Thank you. Anybody else have a reaction you want to share?
I have a big yes as well. I love Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie. I haven't read much Viktor Frankl though, but I love all of the quotes that you've given to us today by him.
Great, thank you. Well, I had mentioned in my the write-up about this class that I had something to get with in my family when my mother was diagnosed with an illness that would last for 11 years until her death. And some of the ways I got with it, in addition to all the things that I mentioned, was around the thoughts and arguing with reality and thinking, what if I'm not having the wrong experience? What if she's not having the wrong experience? We are having experiences. And in my teachings, in my spiritual life of my clairvoyant reading and healing community, we say all experiences are wisdom for the soul. And there's a neutrality to that for the soul. For us, anyway, that's a thought that I resonate with. So I chose to feel my feelings along the way, breathe with, move feelings as they came through, and chose to see this as a soul opportunity for all of us that were involved. So we're not having the wrong experience. This is what's happening as clearly as today is Wednesday. And it's her soul's journey. It's not for me to judge. And therefore it was my soul's journey to be part of that. And what happened? Who did I become when I used those thoughts? I had peace of mind and could turn myself toward what the most positive effect, what would have the most positive effect on both of us, and that was love. Loving her as she was. Because at the beginning, yes, I'm like, Mom, take these pills. Mom, try this, do that. And that lasted for a little bit. Yeah. Yes, Catherine, relax and release through everything. So, time for another quote. This one is Wayne Dyer. Peace is the result of training your mind to process life as it is, rather than as you think it should be. I love that quote, and I'd love to offer another process. I also want to leave time for questions, because I could offer several more processes, but I'm happy to answer questions if you'd rather do that. Okay, here's one that I cobbled together. I call it Take Two and Gimme Five, because that's got a little bit of humor to it for me, and it's memorable, and I'm more likely to use a process if I remember it. So sometimes I'm angry and I want to be angry, and I want to be angry a little bit longer. And it doesn't have to just be for anger, it could be for joy, but take 2 minutes and have an unenlightened rant. To just stomp around and say, I'm mad at what happened, and why did he do that, and whatever, that wasn't right, and that was stupid, he's a jerk, and enjoy it. But it's a great way to clear the pipes. So take 2, gimme 5. After the 2, 5 appreciations. Definitely of yourself, maybe of the other person or people or a political party. And or the situation, the fact that it came into your life. Maybe you want to appreciate that because of that something happened. Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Take 2 and gimme 5. And so we talked about, and I want to say wonder questions is one of my favorite things, because we talked a little bit about saying what you wanted, committing, Rhonda. If you stand up and move and start it with a I wonder, because sometimes the answers come by asking the right question, or a question you want a vibrational response from. I wonder how I could easily find myself in a state of total financial freedom. Best to keep it relatively short, as opposed to, I wonder how I could have $100 million in a red Ferrari and a big house in these 5 cities, and on and on and on. I wonder how I could find myself easily integrating my upper limits. And so, I wonder, with the creative joint play, moving your body in ways it doesn't usually move. Wonder questions, float them out, and then just listen for the whispers that come back whenever they do. And here's another playful thing. You could interview the thing that has arrived into your life. In my case, I can use any one of 5 or 6 microphones that a friend of mine made in all these colors. These are fun to take to parties, but it's like something comes into your life, and how you maybe put it in a chair, or maybe put it in your hand, or, hey, leg, why did you break? I love play. And one of my favorite books is Play by Stuart Brown. Fantastic book. Another great one is The Gift of Play, by Barbara Brannon, Why Adult Women Stop Playing and How to Start Again. And a couple of minutes left. I could say more, but I would love to hear if there's anything more, any questions, any comments. plenty of more on the buffet, and it all not only here from me, but out in the world. And so I wonder how I could easily find myself attracting the best alignment tools for me. Could be your wonder question that you leave with.
Mm. Mm.
I'm starting to feel like this. How about you guys? Whoa,
Mhm.
I had fun.
I like the alignment tools, just calling them that, aligning. Because I think of the spine and aligning, but how do I really embrace what's in front of me, whatever it comes up, the startle or the so thank you.
You're welcome. Great to see you, Lisa. I almost didn't recognize you.
Jody.
It's been a long time.
Yes.
And I think in terms of taking some things off the table, it's off the table to think I'm having the wrong experience. And then, okay, now what? So that's another thing. Maybe not instantly, maybe not right away, but okay. Now comes time for response or action or. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, Jody.
You're welcome.
Wow. I'm going to be watching this one again.
Well, and there's so many things you could, all the things in the nonverbal, many things in the verbal, and then the processes and the tools. Yeah. So you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. Yay. If you want to unmute and say something,
Yes.
please feel free.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Feel better. Yeah.
Yay.
Mm.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you. Otherwise, I would just be talking to Michelle. And
That's
so
right.
thank you for being here, asking questions, participating,
Yeah.
and making it more fun.
Yes.